This is Monkey World in Dorset, the largest ape and monkey rescue centre on the planet. Today on Monkey Life, disturbing footage reveals the park's next rescue mission.
I've just been sent a link today of this film clip. What's clearly the chimp attacking a man in the streets.
The nursery chimps have a ball with a colourful play session. And there's a surprise delivery for the woolly monkeys. But is history going to repeat itself for new mob Kuna?
I just don't know what it is with Kuna at this point. I'm really disappointed.
This morning, the chimp nursery pond has been filled with toy balls for the youngsters to play with. But a pond full of brightly coloured plastic balls instead of water is a little bit scary. So toddlers, Rodders and Ash decide that the safest thing to do is climb up high as far away from the terrifying balls as possible. And they're not the only ones who are keeping safe. It takes 20-year-old Sally to work it out. She's been at the park long enough to know that these balls are bound to be tasty treats. Well, they're not that tasty, but if they keep trying, there's sure to be a good one in here somewhere. Rodders and Lulu follow Sally's lead, and they decide that the red ones are most likely to be the tastiest. But Brian's not convinced. It's in a chimp's nature to be curious, and Ash seems to be investigating the possibilities for play. But will any of the chimps be brave enough to actually enter the scary play pit? Coming up, the baby chimps show that they do actually have the balls. And we catch up with one of the park's most well-loved characters, Charlie. Monkey World is home to over 55 rescued chimpanzees, and it's always ready to save more. Over in the office, Alison is watching some disturbing footage from Mexico. Alison believes it's an adult female chimpanzee called Coco. Monkey World has been trying to rescue her for 5 years now.
I've just been sent a link today from one of my primate care staff of this film clip. What's clearly Coco. Coco the chimp attacking a man in the streets.
Coco is one of many chimps around the world being used for the tourist industry. They're forced to work as photographers' props and have been known to suffer cruelly at the hands of their owners. 2 years ago, Alison and her late husband Jim went to Mexico to rescue Coco and another chimp called Brian. They successfully brought Brian back to Monkey World, but Coco wasn't so lucky. Jim and Alison spent days trying to track her down in Mexico, searching tourist areas where she was likely to be working.
We've been going through the shopping centers, the beaches, in the midday sun, doing exactly what Coco does, and I can tell you right now, it's hard, hot work. But finally, at the end of today, we had a tip-off.
Despite tip-offs, Coco was nowhere to be found, and Alison was very concerned. At over 20 years old, Coco may have suffered for years, and there's no telling how this may have affected her.
For Coco, it's all very dangerous and on a knife edge. The trainer, owner, photographer isn't controlling her. He's getting bloody noses. She's attacking people in the street and then being given ice cream. It's a disaster waiting to happen, and we need to try and stop that disaster before it happens to Coco.
It's actually very difficult to confiscate a chimpanzee in trouble unless there's proof that they were smuggled from the wild or are being worked. Now this new video has come to light, Alison finally has the evidence she needs to take action.
For us, it means we really need to step things up. We need to get back to the Mexican authorities now make sure they're ready to go, and Monkey World will be straight across there with relevant boxes and veterinarians to sort Coco out ASAP.
Hopefully, Coco will soon be en route to Monkey World, where she can enjoy a happy and healthy retirement. Coco's new home will be in the chimp nursery. It's usually home to the babies, but it's also the place where newly rescued and vulnerable adult chimps have lived and learned to become chimps again. And it'll be up to this gang to ensure Coco has a gentle introduction to chimp life and lots of fun. Today, it looks like the youngsters have overcome their fear of the pond full of the plastic toys, and they're having a ball. Playtime is just as vital for young chimps as it is for human kids. And for Brian, an important part of playtime is making a mess. It's good to see him relaxed and enjoying life. When he first arrived, he had a hard time settling in. But not anymore. Chimps have bundles of energy, and both Rodders and Ash need no excuses to show off their playful side. They're all having such a great time that even Lulu's decided to join in the fun. But Sally still thinks she knows better. There's bound to be some food in here somewhere. Isn't there? And just in case she's right, Brian's in position to scrounge some off her. But there are 3,000 balls in the pond, and none of them seem to taste any better than the last, or have anything inside. So Sally's trying a different strategy. If the balls themselves aren't a tasty treat, surely there's got to be something delicious hiding underneath them. Over with the bachelor boys, it's also playtime. And it doesn't matter how big and boisterous they are, they still love messing around. Two of the boys, Charlie and Freddie, usually keep themselves to themselves, but today they're happy to join in the fun and games. And Freddie's particularly keen to let his hair down now that he's recovered from a rather personal problem. A week ago, Freddie had an operation to treat his hemorrhoids, and so far, so good.
He's actually done really well, and he hasn't been playing with it or fiddling. He doesn't seem to have had any discomfort, and we haven't seen any more blood. So fingers crossed that's done the trick.
Freddie had cutting-edge surgery, which located the blood supply to each of the swellings in his bottom. This blood supply was then cut off to make Freddie feel a lot more comfortable. Freddie definitely looks more perky. But as it's early days, the keepers still need to check up on him.
Really is now just a case of keeping an eye on Fred, checking every day, making sure that the stitches are holding, we're not seeing any blood, also that he's not straining too much when he's trying to pass feces and things like that. But as of yet, we haven't had any problems, so we're fairly hopeful.
And Freddie has a good ally in Spanish Charlie, who himself has had a catalogue of challenges. He's one of the park's most lovable characters. When he was rescued, the abuse he had suffered was one of the worst the park had ever seen. He was a drug addict with cataracts, a broken jaw, and only a few teeth left. His physical and psychological scars made it difficult to find him the perfect group to live with. His displays at passing tanks from the nearby army barracks would upset one group. He was ousted from another. And then he moved into the nursery, but eventually became too boisterous for the youngsters. But it's the bachelor group where Charlie seems happiest. He's lived here for 6 years now, and although he's never really been the most sociable character, every now and then he feels secure enough to join in with the antics of the other chimps. And it looks as though today's the day for him and Freddie to let it all hang out. Despite all of the traumas Freddie and Charlie have been through, they seem to have found a haven in the bachelor group, and hopefully they'll be living there for many years to come. It's early morning at Monkey World. And down at the orangutan enclosure, the youngest and liveliest orang in the park, Kai, is happily playing by himself. But he's just been joined by one of the older and least lively orangs in the park, 25-year-old Amy. A few weeks ago, Amy gave birth, but her infant didn't survive. Like humans, orangs can suffer from postnatal depression, and since the birth, Amy's been keeping herself to herself. Until now. The only problem is, Kai's quite independent now, and he wants to do things on his own. But Amy doesn't want to stop his games, she just wants to play. This is quite a surprise because orangs are not renowned for being overly active, especially Amy. But today, she's definitely in the mood for some fun. Unfortunately, Kai's already having fun without her, and he wants to keep it that way. It's a good sign to see Amy interested in playing with the youngster, because despite her difficult mothering experiences in the past, it may mean that she'll be a more successful mum the next time. The question is, will Kai relent and let Amy join in with his game? The answer is no. Kai's off to find something else to do, and Amy's left wondering where she went wrong. Next door in the woolly monkey enclosure, park director Alison is checking up on another independent youngster. 2-year-old Julio.
Julio's no longer a little boy. I mean, in every way, shape, and form, his, sort of size, he's growing up. He's getting a really big, thick tail, and his head's starting to broaden. And behaviorally, the other day, I've come up this high because the other day, he wouldn't even come down to see me. He was in the tops of the trees and really lovely to see, sort of moving through the trees like you see in the wild, sort of holding on with his tail and legs to one side and then leaning across and grabbing the branches and walking through the tops of the trees like a spider. So it was really lovely to see because even the other adults that we have here in this group, Lavar and Bronco, they don't even do it so well. So Julio's really sort of fallen into his own in terms of moving around the enclosure. Still very interested in people, but at the same time, he's a really happy, functioning member of the group, and now just flying through the tops of the trees. So we're really pleased for him. He's come on leaps and bounds.
Alison cared for him when he was rejected by his mother, Kuna.
He wasn't caring for the baby, so I think it's going to be our job now.
Julio's been living with his woolly family for over a year now. He was pretty confident moving around the bedroom, but when he first went outside, he was very nervous. In the wild, babies get guidance on how to climb and move around by learning from their mothers. So, being hand-reared, Julio had a little bit more work to do. But now he's learnt for himself, this confident little woolly monkey takes it all in his stride.
It only goes to show, if you can rear them properly and get them back into their own society, a woolly monkey society at a young enough age, all of the physical behavior and sort of adaptation to living with woolly monkeys, it's all innate, it's all in there. You just have to get them back into the group at a young enough age. So proud of my little boy. It's going well, really pleased.
A year after Julio was born, his mum Kuna gave birth again to Paolo. He was also rejected and hand-reared by the keepers, but now at 9 months old, he lives with his woolly family full-time and is flourishing too. And later, the boys have a new baby brother, but it seems Kuna's mothering skills have not improved.
This baby was born more than 24 hours ago, and we don't believe that he's actually suckled at all.
Like the chimp nursery, today's treats in Hananya's group are pond-related. But they're not getting coloured plastic balls, they're getting fruits and seeds in the water. The fruit floating on the top shouldn't pose too much of a problem for the chimps, but the seeds have sunk to the bottom, which means there's only one thing for it. Peggy needs to get wet. In the wild, chimps are naturally wary of water and they can't swim, but they will attempt to cross water if there's food at stake. And here at Monkey World, it's no different, so Peggy is definitely a rarity. A chimp that seems to like the water, or at least she likes getting treats in the water more than she minds getting wet. Simon, meanwhile, is behaving in a much more chimp-like manner. He's definitely interested in those seeds, but he's trying to work out the driest way to get them. Spurred on by Peggy's example, Tootie wades right in. It seems that Peggy's not the only one who doesn't mind getting wet. When Tootie lived next door in the nursery, she loved splashing around. And she still loves the water. Simon decides to take the plunge and risk getting a wet arm. Chimps aren't good at sharing, and he can see the fruit and seeds are disappearing fast. But it's just not for him. And now that there aren't that many seeds left in the pond, Tootie's decided that she doesn't love the water that much either. Peggy doesn't give up that easily. But even she's decided that it might be worth keeping one limb dry. It's been a good year for the woolly monkey breeding programme at the park, with 3 babies born to 3 mums. And this morning, there's been another rather unexpected addition to the troop. Kuna has given birth to a baby boy, but staff were concerned for his welfare, as Kuna has failed to look after 2 of her previous offspring. So they've decided to step in and rear him by hand.
We've only just taken him from his mum, and we now need to make sure that he's fit and healthy. He's still got the umbilical cord. No, let go of that. He's pulling on his own cord. He's got his foot wrapped around the cord. That might hurt, little man. Don't, ouch. No, don't do that. That's why you're yelping. Let go of that. You can see the cord already. It's a bit of a nightmare. It's a very hard, stiff thing now that's left behind. It's, you know, sort of very tempting to consider sort of giving it a wee bit of help along the way, but really you're best off just to simply let it fall off naturally. There you go.
When he was born, the primate care staff waited anxiously to see if he would suckle from Kuna. But the signs weren't good.
I just don't know what it is with Kuna at this point. I'm really disappointed. First Julio, then Paolo came along. He's clearly not suckling. We have to take him too. I don't know what it is that Kuna does that means she's got babies that don't latch onto her nipples and feed, because clearly they're fit, healthy, and hungry. This little man's hungry now.
To begin with, it's important that the baby is rehydrated with water.
I know, he says, where's the real food? He's not terribly dehydrated at the moment, but he is a wee bit dehydrated because that skin peak, you know, when you pinch your own arm, it snaps back into place. His skin isn't snapping. It means that he's dehydrated. This is a really tricky time because he's yelling, he's a bit wriggly, and the biggest concern right now is just even one drop of this fluid. If he inhales it, it goes straight down into his lungs and he can get pneumonia. So we're being very, very cautious to make sure that this first feed goes in just drop by drop, and ideally when he's not yelling.
Because Kuna's other babies had to be hand-reared, the park gave her the contraceptive pill to give her a break from pregnancy. But just like with humans, sometimes the pill doesn't work.
We hadn't actually planned for her to give birth yet. It wasn't that I was intending for her never to get pregnant again, because with Paquita in that very same group, having just given birth and caring for her baby perfectly, we were hoping that Kuna had picked up a few tips and was actually going to be a better mum this time.
Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, and the staff are always prepared to step in when there's a primate in need.
Everything changes at the park. Life sadly comes to an end now and again here, and then you get reminded very rapidly that new lives begin as well. And whether that's us going out and rescuing individuals and letting them start their life again here at the park as they should, or whether it's little guys that are born here and just need our help and attention to get started in life, to get the best start in life. That's what we're here for.
Monkey World's mission is that every individual matters, so whether the park welcomes newborns or rescued primates, they all have a home here for the rest of their lives.